One of the supposed greatnesses of capitalism is that you can form unions and then you can engage in some kind of negotiation with the capitalists as to how much of your surplus value they're allowed to take away. Because in the end, what they need is that veneer that somehow this entire process is voluntary and that somehow employment is voluntary. But anybody who's worked in the real world knows that's simply not true. In reality, you're exploited. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Employment is far from being voluntary. Every grown adult knows you need to be employed somewhere. So instead, we have the right to collectively bargain and negotiate with the capitalist over working conditions, pay, etc. Sort of. At one of the worst offenders of exploitation, Amazon, this right has taken a new dimension. The election for a particular warehouse unit in Alabama has come into question. On Friday, Kevin Jackson spoke to the National Labor Relations Board. In it, he described how Amazon had set up a box, a little mailbox, where people could put their votes onto whether or not they wanted to unionize. What he witnessed was security guards with a key going into the mailbox and taking those ballots out in a very strange move. And this fact is now a key part of a complaint that has been filed against Amazon. The cluster mailbox has several doors with locks. Jackson said that when he was leaving work one morning, he saw security guards approach the box, after which one of them used a key to open a large box on the bottom labeled 1P. According to reports, Amazon requested the box from the U.S. Postal Service. Union officials accuse Amazon of using it to spy on union elections. They say the mailbox created the impression that Amazon controls the mechanisms of the election, according to an April 30th order from the Labor Board's acting regional director. Now, Amazon, of course, claims otherwise. They say this mailbox, which only the USPS had access to, was a simple, secure, and completely optional way to make it easy for employees to vote, no more and no less. Now, despite what Amazon claims, there are actually federal laws in place to protect unions, their voting, and their activities from having surveillance carried out on them by the capitalist and, of course, his entity as well. Now, it should be noted that when this accusation was being made, Amazon had recently just defeated a vote to whether or not to bring in a union to that particular warehouse. Now, with that particular context in place, you can see why this whole situation seems very suspicious. Why would Amazon even have access to those ballots to begin with? The prospective union or that maybe or maybe not be joining them are the ones who should be able to access those ballots. Yet somehow Amazon and its security guards had a key to that box and were able to go in and collect them. I think a big question is, why would Amazon have any right to do so or any business doing so? If you ask me, it seems that this violates federal law and it spies on employees. Now they know who voted for one and who didn't. And now, because the union vote was defeated, they know which employees to carry out punishments on. But of course, the problem here is that this was taken to the National Labor Board because the whole thing is entirely suspicious. So it's weird that Amazon would have this ability to be able to go in and look at the ballots, have access to them, when there was a vote as to whether or not there should be a union there. That's sort of like controlling the ballot box when you're the president kind of thing. So you could see how this is a little bit strange, that this is being accused at a time when the vote on whether or not to have a union was defeated. So you'll excuse me and everybody else who tends to think that this might be a little bit of election trickery that's going on. But isn't that the supposed greatness of capitalism? We can bargain with the capitalist. We can even vote as to whether or not we want to have union representation. I mean, we only had to write a law that enforced this right because it, actually wasn't there. That's why we have regulation, because these rights didn't actually exist. I mean, that context is kind of removed when people talk about capitalism and the rights or lack thereof that you have under that system. So, you'll forgive me if I feel that maybe this election wasn't exactly free and fair and maybe had some kind of interference from Amazon. As we do know, Amazon has a very long history of interfering in union activities inside its warehouses and other places. We all know about the urine bottles that employees use because they're not allowed to go to the bathroom. We all know about the Amazon patent for what people are colloquially referring to as the wage cage, which would restrict the movement of Amazon employees to force them to extract the absolute maximum amount of surplus value possible without letting that whole fact of the worker being a human being get in the way of surplus value extraction. So I suspect that this case is far from over and that we're actually going to get more information in the future as to what exactly happened with this vote, because myself and other people are probably very suspicious that this was not a free and fair vote at all. But then again, is capitalism really a democracy? Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.